go. Claudia,
For
your
the
mic is
contemplative
on.
meditation today, can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the contemplative meditation today, I'm going to read from Roger Teal's This Life is Joy, and then we'll go to Jackson's music, and then we'll open the service. To move into the power of love, know that it is the most elemental aspect of reality of which you can be aware. This holy instant, this very moment. Divine love includes all that we can see, touch, or comprehend, yet it is so much more. It includes all people and sentient beings, yet it is even more. It includes the earth and indeed the entire cosmos, yet it is even more. It is the reality and beingness of this very instant. With this awareness, you will gain the keys to the kingdom of unconditional love, spiritual love. This transforms everything into progressively higher states.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness. And know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer.
And we come into this space together on Zoom and in our hearts and in the will of spirit to know that we are one, that we are a divine center of being, that we can share openly and graciously and generously with each other. I know that the purpose of our meeting of our journey is a journey of each individual and a journey of the divine community of which we are a part. I know that we each love willingly, accept graciously what is given, and that we each know that we are in the right place at the right time, and that Spirit will guide us all. In that feeling of being ready to open this service, I say, and so it is.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness. And know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer.
Thank you, Claudia and Jackson. Good way to start out. So our talk this morning is called the Devine Community. And I'm just going to go right into what it says in our global vision. Here, we envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. You know, if you're watching the news, it doesn't really feel like we're connected. Well, actually, it feels like this faction is connected and that faction is connected, and then there's some people in the middle that are connected, and yet the sense of divisiveness is painful. And it doesn't feel like we're living in a world that's one global family that's respecting and honoring the interconnectedness of all lives. But this is our vision. And so this is what we need to keep in the forefront of our minds. When we start letting our minds chatter about we've heard on the news, or, you know, the idea of these things that are happening, like the other day I read that murders are up by 7% or something like that across the United States since the pandemic hit. And, you know, my mind started off on this story about that. And I thought, no, wait. Our attention goes, the energy goes where our attention, the energy flows where our attention goes. There we go, I got it. So if I'm paying more attention to that which I don't want, then I'm perpetuating it. So for me, at least, I really want to envision a world in which we live and grow as one human family, etc., as our global vision says. I want to pay more attention to that. It reminds me that Mr. Rogers said that when he was little, he asked his mother, you know, about something terrible that had happened, and his mother said, look for the helpers, look for the helpers. And this is what I want to do. This is what I want to continue to do, is to look for those people who are stepping out and being more compassionate, kind, whatever. So Dr. Martin Luther King spoke often of the beloved community, a world in which all people share the wealth of the earth and the violations of human decency are not tolerated. We see the future in our current situation as an embodiment of this realization for all. This is what we're trying to do, is see this as an embodiment, this idea. He actually said from the Only Road to Freedom on May 4th, 1966, our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls as well as a quantitative change in our lives. So this will require the quality of our souls to change and more changes, quantitative changes in our lives. And sometimes I know I have thought that, oh my God, you know, through all my life, I've been through so many changes. I just want things to settle down and be nice and calm and graceful and easy and all of that. And yet we live in an atmosphere where the only constant is change. And the only way that we are going to make these changes be more peaceful or more uplifting is to focus on that instead of to focus on the negative. So that I think that this is part of what the Science of Mind teaches. You know, you get into Science of Mind in the beginning, and it's constantly telling you to think positive, think positive, think positive. You know, when I was a little kid, one of the great things my mother did for me was teach me how to read before I was even in kindergarten. And then I lived in books much of my life. And one of my favorite stories as a child was Pollyanna. And right now, so many people say, oh, don't be a Pollyanna. And yet I say, yes, be a Pollyanna, because Pollyanna looked for the good in absolutely everything. And this is where we have to go. We have to look for the good in everything. So, of course, I have my 3 ideas. And actually, they're not my ideas. These actually come from the Global Vision Committee. So the first idea is about looking at this idea of divine community. There's a particular mystery about the community, the divine community, that's only revealed from within itself. Therein, there is a renewable sense of fellowship. And I believe we have a divine community. And it's not merely a gathering of individuals coming together. It's an almost alchemical reaction that happens among us that reminds us who and what we're capable of being and becoming. I remember a couple weeks ago at the ministers' conference and listening to Bishop Carlton Pearson. I mentioned him last week as well. He said that he was raised in a religion where they focused on the Bible, but they focused on the parts that told you how bad you were. They focused on the parts that said you were a sinner. They focused on the parts that said you can't do this, you can't do that, etc., etc., etc. And it was a real negative teaching. It was all about, if you act like that, you're going to hell kind of things. Thank goodness the science of mind doesn't have that. But I think that our community is one that sees the positive in each other, this divine community. And that alchemical reaction that happens among us is we see each other doing wonderful things and we want to be like them. We want to do better ourselves. I know that my example of this is when Bobby Finster was sick. Before she died, there were so many of us over there cleaning house or bringing her food or helping her do the things that she needed to do, taking her to the doctor and everything. And, for myself, I was so appreciative. I know she was really appreciative of all. In fact, what she said to me was that illness taught her how much she was loved. She never realized that before, how much she was loved. So that was one of those alchemical reactions. For me, watching the practitioners who were doing most of the work move out of their daily routine to help her in all the ways that they did made me want to do better. Made me want to be more of a helper. So we recognize what we're capable of being and becoming in a divine community. The second idea is the beloved community. Beloved means dearly beloved. So the beloved community denotes a deep affection for the many over the one. But it also points to the quality and depth of our shared connections. The beloved community unfolds as a divine tapestry of truth, light, compassion, and love, all woven together with threads of hope and faith. I love this idea, this beloved community as a divine tapestry of truth. And each one of us is a thread in that divine tapestry. And what I know from doing needlepoint and things like that is that if you are missing a thread, then the picture is not complete. So for us, this beloved community and this deep affection that we have for each other, to me, creates a picture that is complete. That tapestry, it's almost like each one of us are a different color, and that we need to be here doing what we're doing in order for this tapestry to be the beautiful piece of art that it is. And they call it threads of hope and faith. I think that one of the things we could add here in this divine tapestry is trust. I think we're all learning how to trust the universe way more than we did before. So I really believe that we're woven together by divine intention. I mean, we're all here because we were called to be here in some respect. Fueled by beauty, imagination, commitment, creativity, humility, compassion, and sacrifice. Now, I don't like that word sacrifice. But I looked it up one time. The etymology of sacrifice means to make something sacred. To make something sacred. So we've done this together. As we've made our center sacred. We've made our divine community, our beloved community, sacred. So if we want to be even more of a beloved community of divine proportions, we have to be willing to give up our individualism for the sake of the communal we. And that means, we're not just in community activities, but in the way we're living our lives. You see a lot of the me stuff nowadays. And yet, in order to rise up, we talked about that spiral that Dr. Holmes talks about, that ever upward emergent spiral. We have to be willing to pay attention to the communal we as well as to the me. Is what I'm doing good for the benefit of all, or is it just benefit me? I think that this is one of the things that we're learning as humanity, as we've been, as we were sent to our rooms, so to speak, a long time ago. One of these days we're going to get the lesson and we'll be able to come out again. And I think the lesson is that it's not about us only. And yet, in some way it is, because everything that's happening out there is happening in here, in our minds and in our hearts. So in our hearts and minds, we have to bring ourselves to that place of having a deeper understanding of the desire to see everybody succeed, not just ourselves, to see everybody healthy, to see everybody prosperous, to see everybody in some sort of love relationship, to see everybody doing work that really feeds their soul. For some reason, last night in my meditation, I was thinking of the word job, and I came up with an acronym for that. It's joy of being. I call the ministry my job, but it's really my joy of being. I love what I do. And what I do is not so much for me, though it is for me, but it's also for the greater community. So the third idea is belonging. Now, this is something that everybody wants. Everybody wants to belong, whether it be in a relationship or a group or whatever. Do you remember being a teenager and wanting to belong to a certain clique or a group of people, wanting to, I think in that sense of belonging, we feel like we're known or we're seen. That makes me remember the movie Avatar, where the greeting that they gave each other meant, I see you. And it wasn't just seeing with our eyes, but it was seeing with our heart, with our whole being. And so we want to belong. And belonging means actually existing as part of something. So what if how we come to belonging one another is not something that is bestowed upon us, but instead flows from the depths of our being? In other words, what if who we are is attracting those people that surround us? And so we look out there, and if it's not what we like to see, then we need to change what's in here. We know this already. And as we become more loving, as we become, I'm just going to leave it there. As we become more loving, then we attract more loving people into our lives in many different ways. So what if we come to belong to whatever it is, this or that, not struggling to ascend to new heights, but by the momentum of love made known in the willingness to embody and exemplify it in the world? I can see this statement in a couple ways. What if we want to belong to our center, for instance, not struggling to be of such a high consciousness that we're no earthly good, but and yet still struggling, or sometimes it is a struggle to ascend to those heights, but by just loving, surrender to that love that is within us, the thing that God is, and let that momentum of love be made known in the willingness to embody it and to exemplify it in the world. Perhaps our cries for belonging could be answered in 2 words lived out loud: welcome home. The very first time I walked into a religious science church, the church in Glendale, California, my thing says it's going to start an update. Now, how dare it do that? No. Cancel. Sorry. Oh, shoot. There we go. Okay. Oh, damn it. No. Sorry. I don't know whether you saw that suddenly the screen went blank for me and said, I don't know. Why does it choose to bother me like that? Took me right off my little soapbox. Anyway, when I was first introduced to religious science, it was through Cherry Cole Whitaker on television. And then I went to the Religious Science Church in Glendale, California, and I walked in there and I felt that welcome home. I knew I was home. And that's what I want our center, our beloved community, to be like for people that are new. Where people feel like they're seen, where people feel like they're heard, recognized, where there's something for them to do to be part of it, etc. Welcome home. And this is what we say every week. Welcome home. So this idea of belonging, it doesn't come from outside of us, though we think it does. It comes from something that resonates from within us to that idea that's presented. And I know that, as Dr. Holmes says, love is the only final security in the universe. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe and the only thing that binds people together in a community of spirit. Love is the only final security in the universe. So I'm going to ask you this week to allow yourself to take the ideas of the beloved community out into your world and see where it is that you recognize a need for acknowledgement, for a need for belonging, a need for feeling love, and let yourself be the one that gives it, that gives the love. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe. And boy, if we pay attention to the news and we look out there in the greater world, it needs healing. And we can do it. We can't buy into all the terrible, ain't it awful stories. We have to look for the good and praise it and honor it and be it. We have to look for the love and praise it and honor it and be it. So many times I think of Eureka as this beautiful place that we live, and it is. And I think about it not as Eureka, but as Camelot. Camelot's where it doesn't get too hot and it doesn't get too cold, and so many wonderful things. And I've said that to a few people, and so many times what I hear is, yeah, but what about the tweakers? Maybe the tweakers need our love. Maybe instead of putting them down in our minds and our hearts, maybe we should love them. So for instance, if you go to the mall sometime this week and you're driving out and you see somebody standing there with his signs, etc., if you can't give them anything else, give them love. One of the things that I read just a few days ago was part of loving is looking, not being afraid to look. And I know for myself that many times in situations like I just described, I turn away so that I don't see them. I don't know whether it's because I'm embarrassed because I can't give them anything at the moment, or I'm judging them, or what. But I realize I've got to look. And I was going to say at least smile, but they wouldn't be able to see it because I'm wearing a mask. But I could smile with my eyes, and I could smile with my heart. So the challenge this week is to be more loving. So let's say this affirmation together. I join in the community of this Center for Spiritual Living by sharing a common spiritual view, by giving what I have to offer towards the common good of the whole, and by allowing the whole soul of the community to support my own personal journey. This is my sign of respect and faith in the Devine Community. And so it is. And Claudia is writing the affirmations this month, so thank you, Claudia. I do join in this community. And not only do I allow the whole soul of the community to support my personal journey, I support all of yours as well. And so let's go into prayer. More and more, I am able to come to the place in my consciousness where I know, and I know that love is the greatest healing agent in the universe. That love heals everything within me if I allow it. That love heals everything outside of me if I allow it. And so right now I declare, using the first person for all of us, that I am ready and willing to be the agent for love here in this dimension. I am ready to let go of all of those things that have made me resentful or jealous or angry. I let go of even thinking pityingly. I open my heart and I open my mind and I let them work together to see love absolutely everywhere. And what I know love is the divine. This divine energy that is absolutely willing to do whatever it is that we place into the law. So I declare that we only place things in the law with love. So I declare right now that each one of us is learning to love ourselves more than we ever have before, because we remember who we are. We're the divine, this divine energy. It's living as our lives in us, as us, through us. It is us. It became us, maybe to experience life in a different way, in all numbers of ways. And so I celebrate that, knowing that we love ourselves. And as we love ourselves and we remember that we're the beloved in whom God is well pleased, we let ourselves share our love with our world. And so right now, I look on Congress with love. I look on all the 50 states of the United States of America with love. I look on our planet, on all the countries in our planet, on our planet with love. I look on the planet itself with love. And I know that love is a great unifier. Love is the healer. Love brings everything together in a way that was better than ever before. So I let go. I let go of all the things I think are wrong. And I know that God's got it. God's got our backs. God is working in, through, and as us every single moment. And now I declare we're willing to be the vehicles for a transformational change that is absolutely awesome. And this is good, very good. And I know that as we do this for what we see out there, the truth is we're really doing this for what we see in our hearts and in our minds. And so we celebrate being the beloved, being the lover, knowing that who we are is having an effect on our world. So gratefully, I release these words into divine law, knowing that the law is already working on them. Before they asked, they were answered. And I celebrate us as a beloved community. I am so grateful that I get to have my job, my joy of being, serving this community. I'm so grateful for life itself, and so it is.
Joyous and free, surrounded by blessings that bloom like flowers in the sunlight pouring down on me. And it's a great big living world, and I give thanks to this living world, this living world, as alive as you and me. And as love all around us, lifting us up like waves of the sea, feel how that love comes to fill and surround us, for we are all one family. This living love, this living love, and I give thanks to this living love, this living love is everything to me. And all that I know is just a drop in the ocean, every star is a sign, millions of words full of life all in motion, and all of that life is one. So when I sing my songs to the hills and the forests, sing my songs to the starry skies, to the bright shining souls who have gone before us, the wonder in a baby's eyes. I sing to my God, I sing to my God, the ageless wisdom of the living words, Spirit of all, creating endlessly. And I thank my God, I thank my God, the endless love of all these living words, source of my soul, and the light by which I see.